Vasudevaya. So today we're going to be discussing text 10 to text 13. Text 10 to 12 have no purport, but they have many important points in the translation. And text 13 has a purport. Om Jnana Divinandasya Jnanandanaushakya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhisham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Pranamayam Dadati Swahadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Govesha Gopikānanta Radhakanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Brahmani Haripriye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Guruna Vyaktir Idam Devi Yam Jako Bhava Tamni Sarva Sharir Yatma Shri Shar Indriya Yasha Nama Rupe Bhagavati Pratayastvam Apashrayaha. So, Diti was very much aggrieved when the two sons had been killed, and she had a desire to have a son. She wanted to kill Indra. Now, Diti had pleased her husband, Kashyapa Muni, and she had received a benediction. But Kashyapa Muni didn't want Indra to be killed.
No.
And in this chapter, you're reading about the Punsavana vow. And in this chapter, there's a detailed explanation of the Punsavana vow. And the real purpose of the Punsavana vow is to be able to please the Supreme Lord Sri Vishnu. How the Supreme Lord Vishnu, as explained in the earlier verses in this chapter, is full of opulences, but through this Punsavana vow, the devotee offers obeisances to the Lord without expecting any fortune. And as has been explained, the Supreme Lord is the possessor of 6 opulences to an unlimited degree. Laxmi ji had been described in this section of the Bhagavatam as the internal energy of Lord Vishnu. And is explained by GKG Goswāmī, Laxmi ji is as good as Lord Vishnu himself, and she has all his qualities and opulences.
Yeah.
So the Laxmi ji is identical with the Lord, and Laxmi ji is always with Narayan. The Lord has multifarious potencies. Parashat Shakti Vividhaya Shriyate. And one of the potencies is Laxmi ji.
Yeah.
Therefore Prabhupada has clearly said that Laxmi is the constant companion of the Supreme Lord. You cannot keep Laxmi at home without the Supreme Lord Vishnu. For example, in India, a lot of people do Laxmi Puja.
Например, в Индии многие люди проводят Лакшми Пуджу.
Very soon the Diwali festival is going to be approaching, and at that time, all the businessmen and householders, they do Laxmi Puja. So the problem with this puja is they will only worship Laxmi and not Vishnu or Narayan. So they want the money, fortune, but they don't want Narayan. So as the Bhagavatam is explaining, that is not acceptable. Laxmi is inseparable from Lord Narayan. So the devotee's understanding is, as it is being explained in this section of the Bhagavatam, that Laxmi is the constant companion of the Lord, and Laxmi is worshipped along with Lord Narayana. As Śrīla Gopāl explains, Lord Vishnu and the goddess of fortune are an immensely powerful combination. As it is showers of all good benediction and the source of all good fortune. So the devotee's understanding is that Laxmi is identical with the Lord, and Laxmi is worshipped along with the Lord and not separate from the Lord. Now, as we said, text 10 to 12 had no purport, but they had many important points for us regarding devotional service. For example, Śrīla Gopāl says in text 10 that one should offer obeisances to the Lord with a mind humble through devotion. There are two important points here. One is the mood of devotion, and the other is humility. Vyasadeva, even after having compiled the vast Vedic literature, was still not very happy.
Yes.
And when his spiritual master appeared on the scene, the spiritual master told him the real reason for his unhappiness is that he is not exclusively presented the process of pure devotional service. So, devotional service is the medium through which we can attract the Lord, and devotional service is the medium through which one should approach the Lord. And what does it mean, devotional service?
Что означает этот термин «преданное служение»?
Devotional service means engaging the mind and the senses in service to the Lord. We have these knowledge-acquiring senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch. We have a choice, either we can use them positively or negatively. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, it is stated that the very activity which becomes the cause of bondage, when applied in a therapeutic manner, can become the cause of liberation. When it causes a bad stomach, when it consumed in the form of yoga, it cures a bad stomach. When the mind and the senses, engaged positively in service of the Lord, become the cause of liberation. So therefore, Śrīla Gopāl says one should offer obeisance to the Lord in the mood of devotion. On the path of devotion, one recognizes, as Lord Chaitanya said, Jivera Sarupaya Krishna Nityadas. Our constitutional position is that we are the eternal servitors of the Lord. The path of devotion purifies our impure senses, and the path of devotion is the only path through which the mind and the senses can be really satisfied. Then Śrīla Gopāl is also saying, humble with devotion. It means we should serve in the mood of humility. We all hear the importance of humility. When Mahaprabhu instructed us followers to write volumes of books, but he left behind for us only 8 verses classified as the Sikshashtaka. And in the Sikshashtaka, the 3rd verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exemplifies the mood which will enable one to constantly chant the names of the Lord. Kirtanadi Sada Hari. Isn't that the last line of the 3rd verse of the Sikshashtaka? What does it mean, Kirtanadi Sada Hari? To constantly chant the names of the Lord. God told us on many occasions, our goal is not just to chant 16 rounds a day, our goal is to constantly chant the names of the Lord. So Gopal used to tell us that when he was studying in Scottish College in Calcutta, he had a professor, and the professor would tell the students that you should always aim to get more marks than what you actually will get. But if you don't aim to get higher marks than what you will get, then you may not even pass. So, our goal or meditation should be to always chant, be in a position we can constantly chant. If you can't always chant loudly on the beats, be in a position we can at least mentally chant. But in order to be able to do that, Mahaprabhu has emphasized a particular mood. And that's reflected in the sloka, Trinadapi Siddhina Thruvapi Sarashuna Amanina Manandena. And Krishna's Kaviraj says, chant this sloka around your neck, so you can always remember the importance of the shloka. Kṛṣṇa Gopāl, the compiler of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, himself offers an example of extreme humility. He said, I'm so contaminated that even if you take my name, all your assets will go away. All your good qualities will disappear.
Он говорил, что я такой настолько падший человек, что если кто-то просто произнесет мое имя, из-за этого он лишится плодов всех своих благочестивых поступков.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also himself displayed extreme humility in dealing with Vaishnava, in dealing with others. Once Mahaprabhu was having a Sanskrit debate with a very prominent Sanskrit scholar called 𝐾𝐸𝐬𝐭𝐫𝐚𝐜.
Однажды Махапрабху вступил в дебат по санскриту с одним знатоком санскрита 𝐾𝐸𝐬𝐭𝐫𝐚𝐜 Kashmiri.
And a very prominent Sanskrit scholar, 𝐾KG Kashmiri, had come there for a debate with Nimai Pandit. 𝐾KG Kashmiri was such a prominent scholar that people would get scared just by hearing his name. He sent a message to the scholars in Navadvip that he wanted to come and have a debate with them. They all had a meeting and they said, no, none of us are ready for a debate with him.
Когда он послал письмо пандитам из Навадвипа, что он собирается прийти в Навадвипу, чтобы устроить с ними дебаты, они собрались, все пандиты Навадвипа собрались и решили, что никто из них не готов вступить с ним в спор.
They were so sure that they would be defeated that they said, none of us are ready to face him.
Они были настолько уверены в своем поражении, что все сказали, что мы не сможем с ним вступить в спор, мы все одержим поражение.
And they decided to present this young kid Nimai, who was only about 11 years old, and for the discussion.
Поэтому они решили, что вступить с ним в спор может Нимай, которому было всего лишь 11 лет тогда. КЕШЕВ Кашмири был очень гордым ученым.
But he lacked one thing.
Но ему одной вещи не доставало.
What was that?
Чего?
Humility.
Humility.
Humility, okay, but there's one other thing he lacked.
Смирение, да, но еще кое-чего ему не хватало.
What was that? Oh, yeah. He lacked devotion. He was very proud of his knowledge, he was a very prominent scholar, but he wasn't in a mood of devotion. And if you don't have devotion, how can you have real humility? Like in the material world, people are paid to be humble, you know that? When you fly in the aeroplane, isn't the air hostess very humble? They'll receive you smilingly. When you're leaving, they'll say bye, dasvidanya. They're specially trained to be extra humble. In some airlines, if the passengers complain that their air hostess was rude, she gets fired. I don't know about Aeroflot, but...
Я не знаю насчет Аэрофлота, но нормальных авиакомпаний.
So, you walk into a 5-star hotel, the receptionists and all, the waiters, they're so humble. But that's not what we term by humility, just speaking softly or bowing down your head. There has to be genuine humility from the heart, which can be cultivated through the medium of devotional service. So this 𝐾𝐸𝐬𝐭𝐫𝐚𝐜 Kashmiri, he defeated everybody in India in a Sanskrit debate. If you defeat people and then take a certificate from them, I have been defeated by so and so. So when 𝐾𝐸𝐬𝐭𝐫𝐚𝐜 Kashmiri came with his whole entourage, he met Nimai on the bank of the Ganges. Nimai, of course, was very respectful, as he was always. 𝐾𝐸𝐬𝐭𝐫𝐚𝐜 Kashmiri wanted to hear Nimai compose some Sanskrit slokas. Nimai said, you are more prominent than me. I don't even understand the Sanskrit language. When I teach grammar, my students don't even understand me. So then the scholar composed 100 verses in clarification of Mother Ganges. And then he asked Nimai, so what do you think about these? Nimai said, very good, but these are the defects. And he recited some of the slokas in which there were defects. He took on one verse and described 5 good qualities in that verse and 5 weaknesses in that verse. The Sanskrit scholar heard Nimai repeating the 100 verses the way he had composed, he was shocked. He said, I chanted at the speed of the wind. How could he memorize it just by hearing once? A person who can memorize something by hearing once is called Shrutidhara. There's another famous example of a Shrutidhara in our Bhagavatam. Who is it?
В Бхагаватам также приводится пример такого знаменитого Шрутидхара. Кто это? Сута Госвами.
He heard Śrīla Gopāl Kṛṣṇa recite the Bhagavatam, and just by hearing it recited once, he had it memorized. And then, when in the forest of Namashranya, the sages wanted to hear something by which people would be saved, he repeated the entire Bhagavatam as he heard it. So when Nimai pointed out the 5 faults, in one of the verses that Nimai presented for discussion, Kesha Kashmiri had no answer. He had no answer. And he was praying to Goddess Saraswati, but Goddess Saraswati did not speak through him. And then my students, they began to make fun of this scholar. They just because the scholar could not respond to Nimai's points. Nimai was victorious. But Nimai stopped his students from offending or embarrassing the scholar. Rather, Nimai came to the rescue of the scholar. Nimai said, you have been tired today. You came up from a great distance. So, you please answer my points tomorrow. Today you are tired, so you please take rest.
Nimai сказал, вы издалека пришли, поэтому вы наверняка очень устали, поэтому лучше сейчас идите отдыхать, а завтра вы ответите на то, что я сказал.
So see the humility in the mind displayed. Of course, that night, that Kesha Kashmiri prayed at the feet of Goddess Saraswati, who told him that I can't speak through you anymore in debating with this Nimai, but he is Krishna himself. So then he surrendered the next day and became a great devotee. So, the Purushavana prayers should be offered in the mood of devotion and with humility. Humility should be our guiding principle in serving the Lord, chanting the holy name, and in dealing with Vaishnavas. How do you practice humility in dealing with Vaishnavas? The positive endeavor is to look at the good qualities in all Vaishnavas. And that helps one to be respectful to other Vaishnavas. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the chapter on divine and demonic nature, Krishna defines the qualities of the divine. He explains what are the qualities of those with divine personality and the qualities of those with demonic.
Кришна описывает в этой главе качества, присущие демонам, и качества, присущие преданным.
And in describing the qualities of the divine, one of the qualities that Krishna mentions is aversion to fault finding. So we should abstain, refrain from the tendency to fault find. Now further, Śrīla Gopāl is explaining that Lord Vishnu and Mother Laxmi, the goddess of fortune, they are the proprietors of the entire creation. Laxmi ji is the goddess of fortune.
Laxmi ji это богиня процветания.
And Laxmi ji resides there, the Lord is there also. The devotee's understanding is the Lord is the proprietor of this entire creation. The Bhagavatam says, you are the cause of the creation. Now this is not the first time that Śrīla Goswāmī or any other sages are establishing that the Lord is the cause of the creation and the proprietor. In this very chapter, in 10 verses, 3 times this point has been made. The Lord is the cause of the creation and the proprietor. In almost every prayer composed by devotees in the Bhagavatam, this point gets established. The Bhagavatam is nothing but a prayer book. Through different prayers, the Supreme Lord and His different aspects are being glorified. So this point that the Supreme Lord is the cause of the creation, the Supreme Lord is the Supreme Creator, is being made Supreme Proprietor to re-establish, to keep reminding us so that we conditioned souls don't forget the reality. Mahalakshmi is always the internal potency of the Lord, the internal energy of the Lord. Not only the Lord, the master of the energy, as GKG Goswāmī is stating in the 12th verse, but he is also the Supreme Person and the Supreme Sacrifice personified. What is the purpose of these sacrifices that we perform? To please our Vishnu, to please the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, text 5, Krishna says, 3 things one should never abandon. What are the 3 things?
Что это за 3 вида деятельности?
Yajna, Dhan and Tapasya. Yajna means sacrifice. Dhan means charity. Tapasya means austerity. And Krishna says, and with great souls, they should not withdraw from this. We hear the Lord is being addressed as the Supreme Person. What does it mean, Supreme Person? There are many persons, but none as prominent as the Supreme Lord. Just like Lord Brahma says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anavirali Govinda Sarva Karna Karnam. There are many Ishvaras. Ishvara means controller, but there is one Supreme Controller, and that's the Supreme. So, here again, the Lord GKG Goswāmī is establishing the Lord is the Supreme Master and the Supreme Person and the Supreme Enjoyer of all sacrifices. Further he explains that the Lord is living as a super soul of all living entities. This puts upon our prayers, there are many prayers, and in these prayers you're bringing out different aspects of the Lord's personality. He is the super soul of all living entities, including even the demigods. He is even the super soul of the Gauri. He is even present the super soul of the goddess of fortune.
Он даже сверхдуша богини процветания.
So, as a super soul, the Lord is performing many functions. He is witnessing all our activities. He is witnessing all our activities and keeping an accurate record. He is guiding us according to our desires. Just like Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham hirdi sarivishto mataha smritagyana apahanam cha. I am the cause of remembrance and the cause of forgetfulness. Then, as a super soul, the Lord is the ultimate sanctioning authority also. They say man proposes, God disposes. So, on what basis does God dispose? Just whimsically. Right? Does God dispose whimsically? Last time we were lecturing from the divine and demonic natures, where Krishna says, those who engage in demonic activities, I put them into the lower species of life. And so in other words, the final authority of putting one in different species is in the hands of the Lord. The Lord is the ultimate sanctioning authority also because He is present as a super soul in everyone's heart. Now, the Lord and the goddess of fortune, they also have a holy name. In the Puja prayers, it is explained that, and it is being explained in this verse that we are doing today, that the Lord and the goddess of fortune, they both have a holy name and they both have a form. So the Lord has a name, but that name is holy, it's spiritual, it's not contaminated, it's not material. And the Lord also has a form. No, it's spiritual. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Janma Karma Chame Devyam, my coming and going are both completely transcendental. So, it is being established here that the Lord and His consort, Laxmi Devi, they have a holy name and they have a form, and this form is completely transcendental and not mundane. So the Vaishnava's position is, As Prabhupada explained in the purport of text 13, that Goddess Laxmi is identical with the Supreme Lord, and hence she is also Vishnu Tattva. And where does Goddess Laxmi reside? Where does he? Yes, in the lotus feet of the Lord. Great sages were having a discussion as to who really possesses the quality of goodness to the greatest degree. So they decided to send Bhrigu Muni to test three powerful personalities. The three powerful personalities? Brahma, Shiva and Vishnu. So when Bhrigu went to Lord Brahma, his father, he didn't offer him any respects purposely. Normally, especially when one has a father who is a devotee, one should offer respects when he sees such a father or the spiritual master. But Bhrigu's whole purpose was to annoy them and see how they react. No. So he didn't intentionally offer any respect. And Brahma was very angry, ready to curse him. Then he said, oh, after all, he's my son. Then he went to his brother, Shiva, traveled to Mount Kailash. And as soon as Lord Shiva saw him coming, he got up from his meditation and came to embrace him. And what did Bhrigu do? You can't touch me! Your body is full of this dirt! Lord Shiva was also angry. He was ready to curse him.
Он тоже был готов уже проклясть Бригу.
Parvati said, Unvacha Prag. So he kept quiet. Then he went to Svetadip. And as soon as he went there, he kept his feet on the chest of the Lord. When he kept his feet on the chest of the Lord ends up getting angry. He said, how fortunate I am that the Brahman's feet have touched my chest. Rather, the Lord said, I hope my steel-framed heart hasn't hurt the soft feet of this Brahman. There was one person who was very unhappy where that this Brahman has come and kept his feet on the Lord's chest. And who was that? Goddess Laxmi. She didn't like that this Brahman came and kept his feet on the Lord's chest. So it is said, since that incident, Laxmi ji doesn't favor the Brahmins very much. And as a result, the Brahmanas are not very rich. So now some of you will say, oh, then I definitely don't want to be a Brahman. Well, if you're a Krishna conscious Brahman, and then when you become a millionaire, you want to offer your fortune to Krishna. And in the name of Laxmi, it's Chanchala. Have you heard of the word Chanchala? Oh, I see almost everyone is Chanchala Das or Chanchala Dasi. Almost everyone is Chanchala Das or Chanchala Dasi to some extent. So Laxmi is another name of the betrothed is Chanchala. It means she's very fickle. So Laxmi, because she's also Chanchala, sometimes she stays with you and sometimes she says Dasudani. So therefore we see sometimes rich people become poor man becomes rich. You see suddenly a rich man becomes poor man becomes rich. Because Laxmi is also Chanchala. She leaves you and goes away and sometimes she comes. So Laxmi should be worshipped along with Vishnu. That is the complete worship. If you don't worship Laxmi with Vishnu, then Laxmi is not happy. So our Krishna conscious position is Laxmi is worshipped along with Vishnu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, based on the statement of the Vishnu Purana, has said Laxmi is identical with Vishnu, and therefore the devotees worship. If they worship Laxmi, they worship Vishnu. If they worship Laxmi along with Vishnu. That is the Vaishnava understanding. Now I wanted to take this opportunity to also talk a little bit about book distribution and the forthcoming marathon. I was requested by some Sankirtan devotees to do that. Some of them wanted me to take a Sankirtan verse for discussion today. So, Prabhupada gave us many services, and one of them was this service of preaching that he said was most important. And preaching takes on many forms, and one of the mediums of preaching is this program of book distribution. Book distribution, as Prabhupada said, was very, very dear to him. It's book distribution is a medium through which devotees endeavor to bring people from darkness to light. And Prabhupada, as we know, labored very hard to write these books. This year actually is a very special year. It is the 25th year of Prabhupada's disappearance from this planet. This year in Vrindavan and Kartik we are having a very special celebration in which over 3,000 devotees from the whole world are coming for Prabhupada's disappearance day festival. So, physically Srila Prabhupada may not be there, but he is there with us in his Vapi form, in his instructions form, in his Vani form, and in his books. Prabhupada said, as long as book distribution goes on, I'll never die. In other words, Prabhupada encouraged us to go on eternally distributing his books. And Prabhupada labored so hard to produce these books. Why? So that these books will wake people up from sleepiness to the constitutional position. When Srila Prabhupada was on this planet, one of the first things that he would ask for his secretary to show him would be Sankirtan results. At the time of Srila Prabhupada, there was no email on the planet. There was no email. So every day he would get like 30, 40, 50 letters from the whole world. And his secretary had one constant instruction. First he should open the Sankirtan newsletter, give him scores of book distribution around the world. And it used to give him great pleasure to hear, first see the Sankirtan results, he would see which temples are doing how many books, which devotees are doing how many books, etc. So, Prabhupada encouraged us to do book distribution, and in Russia we see devotees have a natural attraction to this service. So even though the Prabhupada marathon is a few weeks away, but we can start thinking about it from now. We can start planning from now how you're going to take part in this marathon and actually make this a memorial marathon this year, especially since this is Prabhupada's 25th disappearance anniversary. Who doesn't want the Lord's mercy? In the 18th chapter, Krishna says, of all types of devotees, the dearmost is one who is always preaching my glories. So please start preparing, mentally thinking how you're going to do your share in expanding Prabhupada's glories. And even if you've never done it, even if you feel no ability, if you have the desire to do it, Krishna will empower you. That's like Krishna's Kaviraj said, we should tie the Tinadapisvachina shloka around our neck. Prabhupada gave us another mantra that we devotees should always be remembering. Who knows that mantra related to preaching that Prabhupada gave us? Who knows?
Preaching is the essence.
Yes.
Books are the basis.
Yes. Ruski.
По-русски скажите.
Проповедь
– это сущность, книги – это основа.
Vipin Prabhu had just reminded us of the mantra that Prabhupada gave every devotee. He said, preaching with the essence. Whatever your service may be, the most important service is preaching, or whatever your service is, you should culminate in a preaching activity. You may be a cook, you may be a pujari, you may be a temple sweeper, you may be a businessman, you may be a student, you may be a housewife. Still, mold your life in such a way. You also have an opportunity to do preaching and book distribution. And of all of the preaching, books are the basis. And where does the enthusiasm to do this come from?
Purity is the force.
From purity. Purity comes from following the path of sadhana, bhakti and chanting your rounds. So please start preparing mentally now, planning how you're going to take part in this Prabhupada marathon. And if you plan nicely, build up your enthusiasm, so when the time comes, you're right there in the front, endeavoring your best. Sometimes you devotees think the book distribution is only meant for the full-time brahmacharis or madhajis. Is that right?
No.
Only they should get the mercy and you all should not get the mercy?
No.
Everyone should be anxious to get this mercy. Should have the preaching spirit. When you are planning this year, when is the Prabhupada marathon starting this year, Achuma? So how many of you are planning on taking part in the marathon, which is only about 5 weeks away? So you have 5 weeks to start planning and building up courage and enthusiasm. Hare Krishna. But we are chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This is the highest vrata. So we don't have to worry about performing Punsavana.
Поэтому нам не нужно особо беспокоиться.
Vratas.
Бхагаватам описаны и другие враты.
So just chant the Hare Krishna and improve the quality of our chanting. That should be our constant endeavor. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Take it inside. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.